Gene Simmons met Shannon Tweed at Playboy Mansion in 1983. It took 28 years to marry her. Their 2011 wedding wasn't romantic, covering up a scandal that nearly destroyed his family. Newly unearthed reality show tape shows private talks. His son plagiarized. Legal records from 2025 address female employee incidents. This man, who claimed to have slept with 4,800 women, is now facing ramifications beyond his crazy reputation. Gene Simmons was once someone else. Cam Witz was born in Haifa, Israel, on August 25, 1949. Flora Klein, his mother, made it through hell. She barely survived Nazi detention camps after being born in Hungary in 1925. Jokiel Witz escaped Hungary and married Flora in 1946 like his father parent. British military blocked their 1947 journey to Israel just before the state was founded. Their history hurt, and Haim's future reflected it. Things worsened by 1955, when he was 6. Due to poverty, his parents' marriage ended. Father stayed in Israel. His mother raised him alone in Tyret Carmel. To feed them, she sewed buttons almost daily in factories. Sometimes dinner was bread and milk. Haim began helping at 7. A friend and I sold wild fruit beside the road. He understood struggle. He constructed his first winter clothing from an army blanket. The cold didn't care, but he had to. He sometimes wept to sleep in an empty house since his mother worked late. School wasn't any better. Other kids bullied him for being different. Hatred from his mother's escape followed him into school in post-war Israel. Something else found him. American comics, Spider-Man, Superman, were his escape. Though he couldn't read English, he tried. He spoke Hebrew, Hungarian, and Turkish at 7. He was covertly learning English to comprehend the comic book heroes. He found comfort in those stories in a post-war world with little food and little hope. His mother rarely talked about her past, but the pain was always there. Haim understood it better by 1957. She was 14 when the Nazis made her pluck potatoes in fields as soldiers watched with weapons. She wore cross-pattern garments, moving between camps, watching her world disappear one relative at a time. She didn't need to explain. She was silent, overprotective, and sometimes cried without reason. Haim knew. It affected him too. Never feeling weak. Never let anyone see him break. In 1957, Flora made a life-changing decision. She and 8-year-old Haim left Israel with little. They landed in Queens, New York, without money, English, or relatives ready. His father stayed, remarried, and started over. Haim never saw him again. He restarted as Eugene Klein. Flushing toilets and TV meals amazed him, but adapting was hard. Flora once worked 15-hour days in Brooklyn factories. Gene needed babysitters and to learn the laws of a new environment. After attending a Jewish school, he didn't fit in. He joined public school. 1967 Newtown High graduate. He was teased for his speech at first. His accent made him feel strange everywhere. But it didn't break him. Sold door-to-door cactuses. He picked fruit again, as in Israel. He tried harder after every insult and rejection. Watching TV and reading comics accelerated his English learning. His pop culture passion skyrocketed then. His name was legally changed again to Gene Klein in 1959, at age 9. After Gene Autry, he chose Gene. He was fully American now, even if he lived in a small apartment with his mother and cousins. Television, notably Ed Sullivan, became his passion. On February 9, 1964, the Beatles emerged, lighting up his soul. Wanted that life. Stage and celebrity were his goals. He tried to be British, adopting the Beatles' accents, to fit in, but he still felt like a lad. Girlies liked it. He was awkward and unsure, going through the chaotic teen years. But he was becoming more appealing. Gene worked anywhere he could in the 1960s. Butcher shops used him to slice meat. His job was behind the deli counter. He saved every penny of his $1,025 hourly wage. He counted every penny because of poverty. Even during celebrations, he avoided alcohol. He saw older men get drunk and sloppy. He stayed alert. He got girls that way. He said it. While everyone else lost clarity, he used it. With constant practice, he learned guitar. After watching the Beatles on TV, he was hooked. He formed small bands and started planning his career in school. Attended Sullivan County Community College in 1968. By 1970, he had an associate degree in education and taught 6th grade in Spanish Harlem for $75 a week. His heart wasn't in class. His band Rainbow, created with Paul Stanley, became Wicked Lester in 1970. They played clubs at night and worked other jobs throughout the day. Even Gene worked for a fashion magazine. His babysitters and neighbors taught him Hungarian, Turkish, and Spanish, which he used to translate. In music, his spirit lived. So he attempted new sounds and recorded solo songs under his name. He kept sending money to his mother, who was still struggling to survive after losing everything in 1945. This element of his narrative astonished even his fans. Gene Simmons claims he lost his virginity, aged nearly 14, in 1963. He was a newspaper route child. He knocked on a customer's door one winter evening before Christmas. She replied, crying in a flimsy nightgown. She was married. What followed? He elaborated in his book. Not merely the start of his sex life. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons linked together in 1970. They founded Wicked Lester with Steve Coronel, Brooke Ostrander, and Tony Zarella. The folk rock sound was odd. Originated from NYC's volatile music scene. On October 15, 1972, they recorded a full album at Jimi Hendrix's Electric Lady Studios. Epic Records paid a lot for it, but A&R director Don Ellis loathed it. He retired it forever because it was too messy and odd for radio. That rejection hurt Gene. After putting his heart into the project, it died before it started. Furious, Gene and Paul fired Steve Coronel, briefly hired Ron Lyjak, and eventually shut down Wicked Lester. But there was more. After Kiss became popular, Gene and Paul paid $138,000 in 1977 to buy back the Wicked Lester tapes to prevent their dissemination. They worried the old sound would harm their new image. Later bootlegs revealed She and Love Her All I Can online. Kiss re-recorded without crediting the original lineup. The failing band spawned something grander. By January 1973, and Paul had compromised enough. Peter Criss, a veteran drummer from Lips in Chelsea, posted a Rolling Stone ad. He joined fast. They found Ace Frehley in a Village Voice ad. 4 of them invented something new. Not your typical rock band. The concert would be extravagant with makeup, fire, and imagination. Kiss was influenced by Alice Cooper's shock rock and New York Dolls glam. On January 30, 1973, they played their first gig in Queens' modest Coventry, formerly the Popcorn Club. That night, Gene breathed fire on stage for the first time in front of 3 individuals, some of whom were band friends. The spectacle was unforgettable. They gained popularity without a hit song or MTV broadcast. Fans spread the word through fan magazines and live shows, not radio. Within 18 months, they headlined Anaheim Stadium in 1974. Gene later claimed their makeup was so odd and memorable that it lingered with people. It was raw, odd, and spreading. In 1973, invented the demon. He painted bat wings around his eyes and breathed fire and blood on stage, inspired by Black Sabbath and Black Bolt. He learned the tricks from a pro. The band experimented with cosmetics without a plan. Gene chose horror. Peter made cat whiskers on his face. Ace transformed into a space alien. They painted madly in front of mirrors to create something new. Early shows attracted only a dozen people. The Coventry had 10 to 15 people, perhaps fewer. The few remaining spoke. Kids spread the word before the internet. Gene described it as sticky and odd. But it worked. Makeup, fire, and blood turned frustration into excitement. No radio hit was needed. They needed to stand out. At the Hotel Diplomat in August 1973, Bill Aucoin witnessed Kiss perform. He guaranteed them a record deal in 2 weeks because he believed in them. And he did. They signed with Neil Bogart's new Casablanca Records on November 1st. The news delighted Peter Criss so much that he tumbled off his platform heels. Eddie Kramer helped the band record their first album swiftly. It debuted February 18, 1974. Started slowly, 75,000 copies. But the band continued. Over 300 concerts were performed that year. Kiss's touring saved Casablanca Records from bankruptcy. After seeing the crowds expand, Neil Bogart knew their makeup trick was working. They packed stadiums in 1975 without a radio hit. Gene termed it a gamble that immortalized them. In his youth, Gene developed a weird behavior. He started shooting Polaroid images of his sex. Each woman had to show a hotel key. In interviews, he claimed to have taken approximately 5,000 of these images and slept with over 4,600 women. He showed friends and guests the images. Slick from Jefferson Airplane considered it awful. Locked them in a box. His wife Shannon Tweed found them after their 2011 marriage and burnt them on their reality program, ending that chapter. Gene never used drugs, but his sex addiction fueled his crazy stage image. He turned chaos into power and performance in little clubs and large stadiums. September 10, 1975, changed everything. Alive, their live CD, was published then. Their shows were loud, raw, and crazy. You could hear fire, cries, and blood on every recording. Songs were recorded in Detroit, Cleveland, Wildwood, and Davenport that year. The album achieved quadruple platinum on May 16th, June 21st, July 20th, and July 23rd, selling over 4 million copies. It spent 110 weeks at number 9 on Billboard. With that record, Casablanca survived. Even though Neil Bogart was being sued, Kiss's success saved the label. They named the album Alive after Slade's 1972 live album for inspiration. It proved the makeup, fire, and crazy worked. They became more than a quirky band. They were rock's future. In 1976, they advanced. Destroyer was produced by Bob Ezrin and released March 15th. He added violins, a chorus of children, reverse drum sounds and sound effects, shouted, and reached number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100. Gene's God of Thunder song was screams and gloom, but Ezrin made it difficult. In August 1975, the band delivered him 15 demo tracks, which he mostly rejected. He rewrote their tune, adjusted the music, and performed bass on Detroit Rock City. Examples include Beethoven's Sonata Pathétique, sampled for High Expectations. During a break in the Alive tour, rehearsals began in August 1975, and recording proceeded at Electric Lady Studios through September and January. Gene's ego rose with each win. Ezrin cleaned the sound, but Gene kept his personality front and center. By the late 1970s, tours went beyond concerts. They were full-blown glasses. From June 15th to December 16th, 1979, Gene flew across the stage while Ace Frehley's guitar-shooting Rockets hit Smoke-Spewing Props on the Dynasty Tour. Their technician, John Elder Robeson, developed these amazing effects. They played 92 North American gigs, but cracks appeared. Canceled Pontiac Silverdome events and smaller Los Angeles gigs were too empty. Peter Criss struggled. His drug addiction worsened. He aborted gigs by quitting drumming mid-performance to lash out. Gene termed it self-destruction. By the final Toledo gig on December 16, 1979, the original band was disintegrating. Fans noticed disco in their music. Families replaced hardened rock fans at concerts. Gene continued flying. Rapidly falling band. Everything grew stranger in 1978. On October 28th, NBC aired Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, a weird TV movie. Hanna-Barbera, who made Scooby-Doo, produced it. Kiss battled an evil inventor in a theme park like superheroes. Invented lyrics about international dominance, matching his real-life goal to make Kiss a global brand. Bad acting. Fans disliked it. Loved the attention, but the band tried to ignore it. The movie was so embarrassing that set members were forbidden from discussing it. It was dubbed Attack of the Phantoms in Europe and became a cult favorite. Gene's ego was unstoppable, as the project showed. September 18th saw all 4 bandmates release solo albums that year. Gene's record outsold Kiss's group albums. It featured Cher and Bob Seger and odd covers like When You Wish Upon a Star. He sang about radiation and delusions. On May 23, 1979, Kiss released Dynasty, with I Was Made for Love and You hitting number 11 on Billboard. It went platinum in 5 countries with over 1 million sales. But disco tarnished their image. Rock fans left, lowering ticket sales. Venues shrank. Magic was fading. Peter Criss drummed on one song before retiring. Splits formed from cracks. On September 18, 1983, Kiss did the unthinkable. They removed makeup live on MTV. Their identities were uncovered after 10 years. They also published Lick It Up, which reached platinum with over 1 million sales. The sound was rawer and more forceful. The bet worked. Fans returned as sales rose. A rebirth, according to Gene. After licensing over 100 products, from action figures to lunch cartons, Kiss made millions in retail. Masks were gone, but business was booming. Gene left music for Hollywood in 1984. In Runaway, he plays Evil Luther. The Michael Crichton-directed Mad Scientist utilized killer robots to slaughter people. Gene spoke dramatically as his demon avatar and died at the hands of his creations. Peter Criss was sacked from the band in 1980 due to his addiction. Gene termed it required amputation. Eric Carr became the Fox drummer. Though heartbreaking, the loss helped them start over. Kiss' 1989 Hot in the Shade single Forever reached number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was their biggest hit in the no-makeup years, selling over 500,000 copies. Although the music was mellow and romantic, fans were confused, but sales showed otherwise. Gene pursued ladies behind the scenes. His troubles hampered the band. Missed sessions. His choice was Hollywood over practices. Eric Carr made his lead vocal debut on Little Caesar, his last album before his death. In 1991, Gene's diversions nearly destroyed everything. Gene's 2001 memoirs Kiss and Makeup told the whole story. Over 4,800 women slept with him in the band. Late 70s stories were craziest. After dating Cher from 1979 to 1980, he fell for her best friend, Diana Ross. An innocent Christmas shopping excursion became a love triangle. No forgiveness from Cher. People magazine exposed the affair, making it one of rock's most notorious betrayals. The harm was irreversible, although Gene remained friends with both ladies. The biggest twist followed. Original Kiss members reunited in 1996. Makeup returned. Shows sold out everywhere. In 75 places, they played 92 gigs and sold 1.2 million tickets. Tour revenue was $143 million. Behind the scenes, tensions ran high. Fraley and Criss received $80,000 per show, while Gene and Paul received $110,000 plus profits. Lawsuits followed. Reopened wounds. Success was real. The issues were too. Despite shattering records, they split again. In Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, Simmons was filmed from 2006 to 2012. Fans got to see his life with Shannon Tweed, his long-term companion, and their 2 children, Nick and Sophie. The 7-season show was A&E's second biggest hit behind Dog the Bounty Hunter. The series portrayed Simmons as softer and more family-oriented, but it omitted his wild history. In 2008, a sex tape showed him with another woman, prompting legal action for privacy violations. However, Gene married Shannon in 2011 after 28 years, which was the biggest curveball. The wedding was reported. The show was condemned for overacting, including a bogus offer to buy an Australian football franchise. Still, it humanized a man known for makeup and mayhem. Gene's business expanded. Over 5,000 Kiss-branded things were on his list by the 2000s. It appeared on condoms, pinball machines, and coffins. Brand was everywhere. Sales exceeded $1 billion. However, in 2017, he overstepped. Gene wanted to trademark the devil horns hand signal, claiming invention in 1974. His filing described it as opposed with index and pinky fingers up and thumb out, like the American Sign Language sign for I love you. Instantaneous blowback. Metal enthusiasts raged. He was informed by critics that John Lennon and Ronnie James Dio used the gesture before Kiss. Gene dropped the attempt days later, but the stunt showed his willingness to fight for authority. Trouble followed him elsewhere. Victoria Jackson, an ESPN makeup artist, sued Gene in 2010 for misbehaving in costume during a 2009 SportsCenter visit. Apparently, he hugged and humped her. Gene disputed it, stating his metal codpiece prevented it. He even countersued to clear his identity. Settlement was reached. He has other legal issues. The dishwasher at his Rock and Brews restaurant claimed him of groping her in 2016. Another woman claimed this in 2017. Both cases were quietly settled in 2018. He generally characterized these lawsuits as unfounded, but they built up and suggested a trend. His fortune grew despite everything. The Gene Simmons fortune exceeded $400 million by 2015. It wasn't just music. It comes from Kiss merchandise mountains, selling 100 million albums and touring nonstop. He and Paul Stanley founded Rock and Brews in 2012, which expanded. He also worked on unique projects like The Vault, a 2017 $2,000 compilation of obscure recordings. He became Invictus MD's chief evangelist officer in 2018. The Kiss Arena football team in 2013, which disbanded after a few years, and by 2025, His solo tour made six figures every show without the Kiss setup. His connection with Shannon Tweed began at Playboy Mansion in 1983. Shannon, Playmate of the Year in 1982, entered Gene's world knowing his notoriety. He had approximately 5,000 lovers by 2002, yet they lived together. They had Nick in 1989. 1992, with their daughter Sophie. Gene joked that marriage was a trap, paraphrasing Groucho Marx, but Shannon went too far. She left Joy Behar in 2011, calling him a pig. She burnt his graphic Polaroids on air later that year. Fans were stunned, but something changed. Gene proposed in Belize on July 26, 2011, and they married on October 1st. Groomsman Nick, Sophie, maid of honor, was emotional and surprising after 28 years of resistance. Their reality show revealed conflict. In Season 6, Shannon left after seeing a 2009 Santa Monica event photo of Gene with two models. In therapy, she revealed she was blindsided by an open relationship and never agreed to it. Gene finally confessed that his childhood experiences made him fear commitment. Asked her to marry him surprised everyone. The 167-episode miniseries revealed more than their love. It revealed fame's anguish and pressure. Gene lost his strongman reputation in 2018. His mother, Flora Klein, died at 93 on December 5th. She survived Nazi camps and lost her mother in a gas chamber. After moving to Israel and New York in 1950, she raised Gene alone, always credited her with developing his values. Her death shook him. His Instagram post called her his moral compass and urged people to love their mothers. His wife Shannon considered her the best grandmother, and Paul Stanley termed her intensely loving. Once saw Gene unmasked. Even his kids were featured. His son Nick was accused of plagiarizing Bleach in 2010 with his comic book incarnate. Fans compared panels and demanded accountability. Nick apologized and said the comic was homage after the publisher deleted it. But the reaction persisted. Critics found the painting amateurish and the plagiarism blatant. Protected his son, but the episode tarnished Nick's creation credibility and accompanied him to their reality program. That Gene always says what he believes caused further difficulty in 2024. Many considered his comments regarding female dancers disturbing during a guest appearance on Dancing with the Stars on October 8th. He praised their beauty instead of their performances. One comment about Chandler Kinney fogging his glasses went viral for the wrong reasons. People called him the nasty uncle on social media and demanded ABC apologize. Gene persisted. He defended his words in an October 10th interview. In April 2025, the fan box arrived. Fans could become Gene Simmons' roadie for a day for $12,495, not counting the ticket. Help with sound check, eat backstage, and be introduced on stage. A signed bass guitar is included. The crass and tone-deaf piece was slammed during harsh economic times. The package sold out. A retired soldier enthusiast claimed the event was worth every cent. The stunt revived celebrity greed debates, especially given their riches. The dispute continued. Kiss was named Kennedy Center Honors recipient by President Trump on August 13, 2025. Confused fans. Gene had called Trump a hate-monger in interviews 3 years ago. He likened Trump's surge to cockroaches bursting out of walls after January 6th. But now the band was receiving his award. The internet exploded with memes. And hypocrisy charges. Didn't speak, yet silence spoke volumes. Simmons toured solo again in 2025. On August 3rd, he performed without Kiss armor at Sturgis, sharing memories from his 50-year career. Not everyone was pleased. Some tickets cost over $500, and the VIP package was unpopular. Due to low sales, several dates were canceled by March 23rd. Fans thought he had gone too far, putting profit before his fans. Still, said it was easier without the huge Kiss setup. Gene cried on CBS Mornings after Ozzy Osbourne died on July 23, 2025. He recalled Kiss opening for Black Sabbath in 1975 and described Ozzy as egoless. Simmons said that Kiss turned down a 1970s Sabbath tour because to their rampant drug use to clean up his band's image. Details shocked fans. For his shock value and crazy persona, Gene Simmons always maintained control.